Rise from your grave.
Hey Quakers, welcome back to the Quake Rave. We're going to be continuing our playthrough of Quake here. Last time we played through episode 1, which was a great nostalgic trip for me. This time we're going to be playing through episode 2, which I don't have much experience with. Played through a couple of the beginning maps, but have never actually played through the whole thing, so it's going to be a whole new experience for me. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Well, here we are in the vestibule of Quake. There's the little rune sign that pops up there when you finish the first episode. Would you consider this a vestibule, I guess? I guess I would. Let's start episode 2. So, episode 2, as I mentioned, is an episode that I may have played a few maps in, and once I get into it here, it definitely comes back to me, we'll say. There's a few maps here in the beginning that I definitely remember playing in the past, but I definitely did not play through this whole thing. It's one of those things, believe it or not, where I don't remember seeing too many Vores at all in Quake. Once I came back to it a couple years ago and started playing a lot of the custom maps that are available, the Vor spider creature was a creature that completely caught me off guard and kind of spooked me. I also wanted to note that something funny, well, it might be funny to you, not funny to me. Something funny happened, which was I actually played through this episode one time already. The playthrough that you're watching here, if it seems a little bit smoother, you'll notice there aren't any deaths in this playthrough, because I had already played through it once, and my screen recording software totally bugged on me and corrupted the video file. So this playthrough you're actually watching it's tainted. It's technically the second playthrough of episode 2. It's interesting though, in watching myself play through this, because I can definitely see how much better I was at playing through these levels, because I definitely memorized certain parts about it. You'll definitely see me, change weapons to prepare myself for certain enemies around corners and that kind of thing. But one of the other things that really surprised me about, seeing myself play through this episode a second time is the fact that my time was cut by quite a bit. You'll notice the length of this video is somewhere around an hour, where before, just the playthrough alone, I think, was going to be like an hour and 15 or hour and 20, somewhere around there. So I shaved off quite a bit of time. Once you play through a map once, you kind of, even if you haven't found all the secrets or whatever, you definitely take a piece of that map with you, and it stays with you, especially when it's an id developed map. When they were developing these maps, I don't know what they were drinking. Obviously they're eating a lot of pizza and whatnot. I don't know what they were drinking, what was in the water in Texas when they were putting this together, but they definitely put these together with a sort of care that you can't find in a lot of the custom maps that people build, especially within the same year. You play a lot of the 1996 maps, which are maps that I love playing through, because there's a certain camp and quirkiness to them. But if you compare them to the maps that are in the actual game, there's no comparison. Ooh, blew that guy right up. Grab the silver key here, or silver key card. Make our way up the stairs. I believe this is the introduction of the enforcers on normal mode. We're still playing the game through on normal mode, and I believe this is the first level where you actually get to see them shoot their lasers and everything. This might also be the first map where things seem pretty weird in Quake. You play through the very first map of Quake is a base map. It's as I was saying in the last episode, I feel like it's an iconic map, and it's a base map. But the grunts and the dogs, they're definitely something you could see in, minus the guns, obviously, you could see in a medieval setting. Once you get into this map and you're seeing grunts, dogs, and enforcers, like, shooting laser weapons, that's when you're like, okay, wait a minute, that's when you could tell there was a strange mix of enemies in this map. It's something I think I've talked about in past episodes of the Quake Rave, but it's definitely something I never really thought about when I was playing this game when I was younger. Again, there we go. The end of the first map of episode 2. Pretty quick playthrough on that one. Relatively short map, really, when you think about it. But yeah, it's not something I really thought about when I was younger, because, as I said in the first episode, I played mostly multiplayer Quake, so I didn't really spend a whole lot of time in single player. And I'm not going to reiterate what I've already talked about. But one thing I did want to mention, another reason why I may not have played a lot of single player Quake, is the sounds and atmosphere of this game in single player scared me. I know it sounds silly. It's kind of bringing around the point, too, of the Vores creature. Once I came back to Quake and I experienced playing against the Vores creature, this game, on its own merit, with the sounds and the atmosphere, like you listen to the boggy, swampy sounds that come with the levels that have this gross poop water in them. You know, it's this sound of, I don't know if it's crickets or bugs or whatever in the background or whatever, coupled with like fiends and ogres coming at you with their strange yells. It's certainly something that spooked me and kept me from playing a lot of single player. It may have been something I've talked about in past episodes, but there's a certain feeling in Quake, and I definitely feel it in Quake 2 more, but it's this lonely feeling that you get playing through some of these levels. Once you've killed enemies or whatever, especially like right here, if I wasn't talking, just that sense of dread you get, you know, walking through the level, anticipating whatever the next enemy is going to be, it's just really, really quiet. So it gives you nothing to do but to kind of sit there and think about what's about to happen, especially in newer levels. I guess the best word for it is it was intimidating. It's part of the reason why a lot of my Doom experience, I have done Doom maps on this channel, you know, I've started the Doom Grave, and I haven't done much Doom levels, and I think it's because that feeling still sticks with me with Doom. The feeling of that game just creeps me out, and I love it, but it's a game that I can't play for very long at once. You know, actually, when as I mentioned earlier, I did a recording of this playthrough, and then I had to redo another playthrough, which is what you're watching here, the second one. And because I have such like an intense and intimidated feel when I play this game, when I play about an hour of this straight, I just have this shaky feeling. I need a break. So the second playthrough that you're watching was actually done the next day, because I had plenty of time on my plate when I did the first record to do it again. But I needed to settle down a bit. And that may sound silly to some, especially people who are just like diehard Quake fans who, you know, can play through the game several times in a row and just enjoy it. But I can't do it. That might come to me once I've played through the game, because then I'll know what to expect around corners and whatnot. But yeah, I just psych myself out. I think a lot of that is the reason why I can't really play horror games either. Believe it or not, I have been playing through... here we go. We got some infighting with the Fiend and the Ogre here. Always love that in this game, when you can pit the monsters against each other. But believe it or not, the game Dead Space that came out... Man, when did that come out? 2008? Maybe 2009? I don't know. 2008, I'll stick with that. But that game came out quite a while ago. And I return to it every year and play maybe a level or two, because I really want to finish that game. But I just have, like, I just psych myself out. I can't take it. I love horror movies and that kind of thing. I can watch a horror movie through with no problem whatsoever. But once I'm in control, it does something to me, and I can't explain what it is. But I don't like it. I don't like the feeling. So a lot of times I actually stay away from horror-themed games. If it's a game where I can just walk through, and deal with it. It doesn't affect me as much, but if I'm controlling a lot of the action, I can't deal with it. I freeze up, I tense up, especially in Dead Space where there's a lot going on. Switching between weapons, deciding what to do in certain situations to get a vantage point against these like horrific looking creatures. It just, man, I get so involved in it that I can't deal with anything else. So I tend to stay away from them. Games that I play a lot of right now are games that, I love playing Nintendo games. Will never go away from that. Love Mario games. Mario Kart being a favorite of mine. And the other game that I think I played on the channel a couple times, if not at least once, but absolutely love myself some Rocket League nowadays. Game came out last year during the summer, and I've played, I think at this point I'm at about 150 hours in it total from when it came out. That's nothing compared to a lot of other people. I've seen a lot of other people with 300-400 hours into it. And I feel like I played the hell out of it. I played it a lot. Part of that might also be because I've taken quite a bit of a break from it over the course of the past few months to play other games. Like, I've returned to Diablo 3 to do the seasons, so at the beginning of this year, in January, I took a little bit of a break from doing videos. I was, I think, doing one a week or whatever, just so I could get back into actually playing a few games and not focus so much on the videos. But yeah, man, the horror games, they really do something to me. Dead Space, I'll finish it someday. Someday. There we go. This level definitely has a weird start room to it. Something different from the rest of the game so far. I'm actually playing this game in order. One thing that's really cool about Quake is the fact that you can pick any, pretty much any direction. It's non-linear in a way. I mean, obviously, if you pick an episode, you got to play through it in order. But you can pick what episode you want to start with. So technically, I'm playing through episode 1 and 2 in a row. But for some people, hey, perhaps you played through episode 3 first, and that's episode 1 to you. You know what I mean? I always thought that was cool that they did it that way. You gotta figure most games in the 80s and 90s were just a super linear progression. You start in level 1-1 and you progress. And that's what you do, you try to get to the end. But in Quake, you can start from the end if you so feel, It's pretty cool. You gotta admire, what they did in the 90s. Decisions like that with Quake are, I think, what set them above whatever the rest of the companies were doing. Really, I mean, what was their competition at this point? Like 3D Realms? Is that about it? Duke Nukem. I'm trying to think of what else might have come out. I guess Rot was out at the time. Rise of the Triad. That was pretty big. But not as big as Doom and Quake. It definitely had the corner on first-person shooters, that's for sure. Now, one thing that I was pretty excited about when I was playing through this level is that I discovered a secret. And within that secret, there is a double secret. There is a secret portal to the secret level in this episode. I didn't think I would find it, because this level I have faint memories of maybe checking out. The last level, I definitely remembered the area with the fiend and the huge elevator that moves up and down in the water. I definitely remember something about that. But it's not as clear as the first level with the Enforcers. That level I remember playing through a couple times, experimenting, wanting to play, ooh, this fiend definitely got the jump on me here, didn't he? But I remember experimenting, just checking out episode 2, being like, man, I played through episode 1 so many times, let's see what is in episode 2. And I remember playing through that first level, and I remember playing a bit of that second level, seeing the fiend on the elevator move up and down and that kind of thing. But that's really all I remember. I remember this corridor area a bit. and I remember like extending bridges in that area that I was in where the first switch was. But other than that, that's all I remember from episode 2. Everything else was like a blank slate, especially the secret level. So anyway, my point being that once I found the secret level and then I found out how to actually get to the secret level all on my own without using guides and stuff, I was pretty impressed with myself. I don't think in this playthrough, since I had already found it the first time I played through it, because the secret level is actually through this area here. You grab the gold key, you take care of these Hell Knights. Boom. Grab some ammo here. We open up the secret door behind it here. As we go in, we find the secret road, grab the Mega Health, and right here, there it is, I did go to the portal. So it says the portal lies beyond. And when I found that in my first playthrough, I was like, that must be the secret level. Because I know that every episode has, I think, at least one. Again, this is one of those things where, you know me, I like to go into a level completely fresh and kind of give my perspective on the level. Ooh, here's another Shambler. I like to give my perspective on the my playthrough through the first time, you know. I feel like a fresh playthrough of a level is I think it's a good measure of how someone is going to feel overall about somebody's work, you know. A lot of times, you know, when you're in the Quake community, if you like a level, like, you know, a lot of people are going to replay levels. It's just how it is. But the average person in a normal video game, you know, I would say the average person doesn't finish the majority of the games they start. Which means, you know, I think a lot of times later in the game, you're lucky if someone gets to play your work, you know, your level design. But if someone were theoretically to say, you know, play through the whole of a game, majority of people are either going to not finish a game or finish it once. That means they're going to have one crack at seeing your level. It means first impressions have to mean everything. At least that's how I've always felt. Now, I have dabbled a bit in doing Quake mapping the past couple of years. I've done 2 maps. Both you can find in Quaddicted. I did them for a couple of map jams, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But what is quite obvious about my maps is I am not a Quake mapper. I like to consider myself somebody who understands gameplay, understands like what works and whatnot. But man, I gotta tell you, that's why whenever I play maps, the majority of the time I always say I try to find the good in them, because I feel like there's something good and unique about most maps, most games even. You know, another Shambler here, two Shamblers in this one level here in episode 2. But yeah, most games, most levels, I feel like there's something you can take away from them, and that's what I always like to find. I like to try to find a little bit of good in a level. Obviously, we have found our fair share of levels that have nothing to them. You know, the whole, like, why would you create this and release... Well, not so much why would you create, but why would you release this? So right there, I hit that button in that secret area. You're going to see in a second here, this is going to be me trying to figure out how to get back to the secret room. What's funny is I could have dropped right there on that platform down to the bridges right here. Like, up there, that doorway was where I needed to go. But I'll be running around here for a couple minutes trying to find the exit to the secret level again. So yeah, as I was saying, I like to play through people's levels, regardless if they're bad or good, and try to find something in it that I find impressive or unique, because everybody's perspective is going to be a little bit different. Everybody's going to bring something a little bit different to the table, or at least show you something that you may not have thought of. You might be the best Quake mapper in the world, and playing through maybe an old map that you might, you know, see as crappy compared to what's being released now. They might be doing something in that map that you're like, wow, this may not have come through exactly like what they were aiming for, but I could totally see what they were doing. And you might be able to take an idea like that, be inspired by it, and turn it into something really killer in the end, and something that you create. You know, inspiration is everywhere, even if it's in something that a lot of people have rated as a bad map, you know? And there you go, that is RC's inspirational hour there. Enjoy. Here we go. We jump back into the portal. The pillar is gone. Or rather, we jump back into the water. The pillar is gone. We jump through the portal. Make our way to the secret map here. So yeah, I was really enjoying myself playing through episode 2 here. Episode 2, I feel like, now that I played through it, I feel like it was a really fun experience. If I had to grade a lot of the custom maps that I play, I feel like a lot of them, at least the ones that I have played, we'll say, because a lot of the maps that I played, the majority of them have been between the 96, 97, 98, that era, the first couple years that Quake was available. And I feel like a lot of them are in the range of what Episode 2 is doing. Now, what is Episode 2 doing that Episode 1 isn't? Well, I think that Episode 1 is such a perfect introductory to Quake. It is, I feel like it's a lot of thrills, but it's easy enough to be a ton of fun. It offers a big boss at the end, to kind of hook you. It does a lot of things right, and I believe there was a interview with Romero. I don't remember if it was in the Masters of Doom book or not. Great book, by the way. Check that out if you're an id Software fan. It kind of takes you through all of the development woes and triumphs that id Software had back in the 90s when they were just getting started and when they saw success. So it even goes over the the breakup between Carmack and Romero. It's a pretty interesting book. Oh yeah. By the way, you'll see the quick save pop up here. This is the first time in a while that I've at least on video, we'll say, that I've utilized the quick saves. In my first playthrough of this, I died probably 3 or 4 times, and there were times where I forgot to quick save and I had to start parts over, which is probably why the video was a bit longer due to deaths or whatever. You notice I utilized quick saves in this, but it wasn't really necessary because I was actually doing not too bad. There are a couple portions where I get down to really low health, but I somehow pull through and I get really excited. Obviously, you won't hear that because I'm recording this after the fact, but I bounce back with the health, and I'm like, yeah! Another thing I wasn't sure about in the secret level here was that those demon pictures right there. You axe them, and blood comes off of them, but I'm not sure to what... to what end. I have a really hard time with this zombie, by the way. He's kind of throwing stuff at me, and I can't seem to hit him just right. Right there, I thought I hit him, and I didn't. And in this part, I didn't get to showcase, but there's an ogre right there in that prison, and you hit that orange button. Here we go, another attempt to hit the zombie, and I miss again. There we go, finally got him. And got that zombie. There we go. I'm going to take this guy out. But while I do it, I hit this button, and I don't show it off like I did in my first playthrough. But that pillar, which you'll see in a second, comes down and totally smashes the ogre. I love that torture trap. That was great. And now they tease you by saying, like, hey, if you come back here, you can grab some shells and armor. But I pass on that for right now because I don't need it. So where... I apologize. Where was I? I got sidetracked by what I was watching here. So, as I was saying with the custom levels, I feel like a lot of them are emulating what's going on in Episode 2. So, from the 96, 97 era, besides the custom maps with like custom textures and that kind of thing, maps like Starship, nothing else is coming to mind, but those were doing like custom textures and that kind of thing. I feel like the majority of the maps, difficulty-wise and setup-wise, were doing things that Episode 2 is doing. And why is that? Well, Episode 2 differs from Episode 1 in that it adds more complex things. Like, it adds this weird torture room here. You don't see anything like that in Episode 1. And there are some maps from 96 and 97 where people are... Here's another trap coming up here. Do I set this trap? Do I go for it? Yes, I do. 2 fiends jump out of that little closet that opens. And I found out a little trick here. I start shooting the fiends because you never know if you're going to have to kill them. But once they get down here, they jump at you. They hit that little corner, they poof, jump right into the acid. Then you don't have to waste ammo on them. So throughout Episode 2, you start seeing things like the torture map, or that torture device there to kill the ogre. You start seeing more complex uses of buttons, which you'll see in the upcoming maps. I'll point it out once we get to it. traps with buttons. There'll be rooms where there's like 6, 7 buttons, and then there's nails just being shot at you from all directions. And I was just thinking about it because coming up in a room here, there's a trap that shoots an absolute crap ton of nails all at once. And it takes me a while to figure this out because I'm not very bright, but if you step on the blue tiles in this room right here, then it shoots. And you should know this because as you walk on these blue tiles, it shoots. But I don't figure this out until this playthrough, like later on. So forgive me if if it comes off as pretty stupid. So yeah, I'm pretty eager to see, because I have played quite a few. See, like here, I'm just jumping through, like, what's going on? Right there, I may have realized what's going on with the nails because I wasn't on blue and it wasn't shooting at me. A lot of those traps, if you're just in the vicinity, they just come right after you with those nails. So there we go, ogre down. But it's taking me a long time to get to the point of what I'm saying here with these maps. I apologize. But anyway, 96 through part of 98 era, you can definitely see like a lot of influence from episode 2 that people were borrowing from. And then I'm really excited because I haven't played as many maps between 99 to now. I have been playing a lot of the maps from now. Here, this is the easiest secret area. There's just a little switch right there that you pump, and then the quad is available. I'm going to save that quad for a couple minutes from now, where I feel like I need it to kill some enemies. But nowadays, I feel like I wanted to run back and hit that demon picture just in case like it gets used somewhere down the line. I never did figure out what's going on with those things, but whatever. Somebody in the comments, let me know. But maps from today are completely different than maps that were developed, back in 96, 97. If you need any comparison, anybody watching this, I know you are already going to know what I'm talking about. But anybody who hasn't played, a good map from back then, or even maybe a map from today, do yourself a favor. Go ahead and load up one of the 5-star rated maps from 1996. Then go ahead and, load up one of the 5-star rated maps from, today, from 2014 or 2015. You are going to see not only a huge quality difference, but like gameplay-wise, things are a lot different. One of the things that people are utilizing a lot now compared to, what they used to back in this time are the horde rooms. You will see one of those rooms at the very end of this episode, which is... I feel like compared to what I've been put through in some of these custom maps I played, I felt like was laughably easy on normal compared to some of these maps I played from now. I do not remember the name of the map that I played, but last year I played a map that somebody made that I thought was absolutely great. It was a castle themed and everything, and the guy did a great job on it. I think I totally skipped that demon picture right there. I don't know if I turned back and hit it, but at that point I might have forgotten about it. So anyway, this castle, like medieval themed level, I felt like the author did an amazing job with. However, I felt like the problem with it, it is a tense level, and there is a huge difficulty spike on normal compared to that of like an older level. Now, something like that, I am totally not opposed to, existing in newer levels. Like, if they want to make their map hard on normal, go for it. My only point being that, here we go, I make this really tricky jump right here. My point just being that things are a lot different. A lot of the people playing Quake nowadays are people who, have been playing the game for 20 years now. Can you believe it this year? Man, the 20th year that Quake has been available. Insane. Probably a good idea that I had the quad for these guys. Here we go. Here's the booby trap room. Boom. Lots of nails. Lots of buttons that we gotta hit. Sequence is complete. However, as soon as we go back into this room, it's going to start shooting at us again. Boy, can those rooms be irritating. Then there's another demon picture, but I don't think I hit this one either. I might, but And there's actually 2 in this room. No, I do hit that one. And I do hit this one, but I completely missed one. So if they did anything, we're not going to find out in this playthrough. Yeah, I could not remember the name of that map from last year. What is it? The Hell That Comes or something like that? Forgive me, I'm, talking off of the top of my head here, so things are not going to exactly be right where they need to be in my memory. But, yeah, the Horde scene, the Horde room in that level, man. Did I say Horde mode? I meant the Horde room, whatever you want to call it. Super difficult, at least for me. I'm sure other people are playing that going like, yep, not hard enough, I got this. But man, for me, that room was tough. I think I had to play through it a couple times. But the funny part about that room is it wasn't even the toughest part of the level. Toughest part for me was the first area where it was so dark in that cave after the first bit of ogres there. There we go, the end of the secret level here. Boom. That's a fun little level there. I like that one. But once you get into that dark cave in that level, man, it was it was so dark, and you had these like the little putty guys jumping at you. Oh my god, I hate those things. Now this is a level here that I thought was pretty interesting, considering it was a id-developed level. I believe most of the levels in the first episode were, and you could totally, everyone's gonna whack me on this one, but I think a lot of those were Romero developed, if I'm not mistaken. However, in these later episodes was when they started introducing the levels by other level designers that were working for it at the time, and you definitely start seeing the difference in design style from the different authors. Regardless of who did design everything in episode 1, you could definitely see a huge difference between the quality of level design. And in that, I mean like the complexities of button pushing and secret finding, that kind of thing. There is a little bit of a difference in level setup as well. A couple of these levels in episode 2 I feel like are much uglier than levels that were created in episode 1. This level in particular, you notice a couple of these rooms, like, just really blue. There isn't a lot going on. Like, if you go into this next room, once we actually get in here and take a look around, there's no torches, it's all blue. It definitely looks like a room to me that could have been custom made by anybody in the Quake community that might have been making a level. Which is really interesting, because this is a level that's in the main game, You wouldn't think that. And then this area I felt was, like, really, really kind of cramped and strange. That might be me looking at newer maps thinking, like, man, look at all the space we got. And looking at this at the first, for the first time in '96, people were probably like, holy shit, this is huge. I'm jumping in water and I got this big castle in front of me. Which is, it's a good feeling to have. The feeling of range and scope in a game, in the older games, especially the first time you saw something really big. Like, I feel like Quake and a game that I mentioned in the first episode 2 was Mario 64. Super Mario 64 did a great job of introducing you to, like, big scale levels. The first time you get into a level and realize, like, I have to jump up that to get to the star, or in this, like, I have to climb this castle to get up to the exit, like, it's definitely at first, like, sort of breathtaking, and it's sort of unbelievable on a level too. As I was saying earlier, I was saying how good id Software was at what they were doing at the time. Quake obviously being their first, like, 3D game, in that it's in a real three-dimensional world. Doom, though it was in a three-dimensional world, a lot of it was like 2D sprites. Everything you interact with in Quake it's a 3D object. Everything is a model. So that's what I mean in that respect. This room I actually liked, because it looked like you got the big mouth opening there with the 2 eyes with the torches there. I thought that was a good touch. And the stained glass windows throughout this episode look really good too. But with Quake being id Software's first like genuine 3D game, it is quite amazing that they got it so right off the bat. And you figure the first-person shooters they did with Wolfenstein and Doom, like, those are some of the first-person shooters, and they're also considered some of the best first-person shooters. Isn't that weird? Like, they had so much talent at that company. It's insane. But one thing that I do find really funny, though, Quake on the PC, it doesn't get any better than being on the PC. You know, they have... I've actually toyed with the idea of playing Quake on other consoles, you know, emulated consoles or whatever, on the Quake Grave, just to show off, like, hey, this is what Quake looked like, you know, on the N64. This is what it looked like on the Sega Saturn. But I've done videos on... or rather, I've seen videos on YouTube of people playing those versions of Quake, and as much as it might be fun to do a quick episode just to show what the game looks like on that engine, I don't think I would ever want to play through the whole game in that way. I'm so glad that the way I was introduced to Quake was on the PC, because as much as I hate being that guy to be like, oh, you know, everything's better on PC, because I'm totally not that guy. There's certainly games that aren't on PC that just are great. And some console stuff is really well done. However, you know, I'm so glad that I was introduced to Quake on the PC at first, because if I was introduced to this game on the N64, I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing today, which is playing through all of these older maps, or even playing through the game itself, you know, again. I don't think I'd give it the time of day. You know, and because I was introduced to Quake on the PC, whether it was due to, like, originally playing Doom and then playing future games by the same company or whatever, that's what introduced me to, you know, Quake 2 and eventually Quake 3, and then eventually playing Unreal Tournament on PC, you know. A lot of first-person shooters, especially in the 90s, that were released on console, whether it was for PlayStation or N64 or whatever, were quite awful. I own a copy of Quake on N64, but I don't think I played much more of it than what I played, you know, maybe the first couple levels of Episode 1. And you may be wondering, you know, why is that? Well, think about it, you know, from a gameplay perspective. Regardless of what it looks like, you know, it might look like what Quake looked like this, you know. This is the old style looking Quake, but it runs at 60 frames per second because we're running it on a pretty beefy machine. Scrag here is not wanting me to get up the elevator. Damn him. This area is super weird here. This, like, you hit the switch and this moving platform shows up. Something unexpected happens to me here, though, too. My first playthrough, I got through on this platform, no problem, not knocked off. But then, as I'm playing through this part here, this Scrag blocks me and I get knocked right off. And right here, I'm trying to figure... I still got my biosuit, but then I lose it, and these ogres right here, they really want to take me out. And they come pretty damn close. Perhaps not close enough, though. But then this guy hits me dead on with 2, and I'm just... ugh. Playing so sloppy. So yeah, Quake on the N64. Fiend just jumps right off. Whatever. See ya. Quake on the N64. It's the same game, right? But not really. I mean, you're playing with that crazy N64 controller. Believe me, everybody, I'm not the N64 controller hater. I know a lot of people from back then absolutely hated that controller because of its weird TIE Fighter look and whatnot. But I got used to it, and I played games on it, and, you know, whatever. It had its time in the sun. Or in the shade, depending on how people look at it. But, you know, playing through Quake with that controller, regardless of whether it was good or bad, playing any first-person shooter, in my opinion, with a controller is just not good. I know that people will, you know, they'll go on and on about Call of Duty or Halo on Xbox, and fine, you know, I'm glad you guys love that. I absolutely have no problem with that. This part I totally forgot that I didn't have to jump down the elevator to do the thing that I'm doing. You can actually shoot this button from the top eyeball right here, which you'll see in a second here once I jump down the elevator. But playing a first-person shooter with a controller is just... It's never really gelled for me. The most it ever did was probably on the GameCube and PS2 era, once you had like the two... see here, I'm having this trouble with the elevator because I'm trying to get by. I eventually get through here, and then I shoot this button. But I could have easily have shot that from the second floor, which I realized once I got back up. But that takes you right over here to the zombie. Boom. And since I remember what's coming up next, I grab the Mega Health and the quad and I go for it. But you guys have to agree, you know, playing a first-person shooter, even if it's not Quake, with a mouse and keyboard, really is just that much better because you have the accuracy. You have the keyboard at your disposal for a lot of different keys, you know, selecting weapons, that kind of thing. That's one of the things I've hated most about playing first-person shooters on a console with a controller. I absolutely hate switching weapons with like a D-pad or something like that. You want to know why? Because I miss the days, like Doom and Quake, where you basically had a bag of whatever on your shoulder and you pulled your weapons out and that's what you did. You know, I got however many weapons at my disposal right now, and that's more than most first-person shooters nowadays will allow the player to have at once. You have to do this dumb thing where, like, I have to switch out which grenade I'm using, or I have to switch out which pistol or whatever I'm allowed to carry, or I have to drop the rocket launcher so I can pick up the sniper, right? Like, I hate that. I want all of my stuff at my disposal at once, and then I can pick what I want to do at that time. I hate having to pick between weapons like that because you don't know what's coming up. If there's something coming up, you know, that you are going to need a sniper rifle for because you're going to have a good vantage point, and then you drop the sniper rifle off for a rocket launcher, well, you know, that's not going to make for a very good time for you, is it? Yeah, I can't stand it. And like I said, I apologize, guys. I'm not hating on controller users. I don't think that it's completely awful. You know, if it's a game I really want to play, I'll deal with it, but it's just not a game that I'm going to spend a lot of time with because it just really gets on my nerves. And the thing about it is that this sort of design, because it's like becoming cookie cutter, because it's becoming... I don't know what you want to call it, because it's becoming like the standard, I guess. A lot of the PC first-person shooters that are coming out nowadays, you know, they're on console first, so they're emulating the same thing that... oh, there's my cat. They're emulating the same thing that, you know, the consoles are doing. So if the console game is being ported over to PC... then they're going to have the same, you know, gun selection menu and all that stuff, and I just don't want to deal with that. I don't like it. Anyway, rant aside, yeah, that was my cat again. I feel like Sushi, my cat, whom I refer to as international internet superstar, he, for some reason, whenever I'm playing Doom, and playing a map for the Doom Grave, he makes his appearance known a lot more on that show, because I feel like I've mentioned him a couple times, than he ever does whenever I'm playing a map here on the Quake Grave, which I find hilarious. He'll just walk in, start meowing like, hey, what's up, I'm here, you know, acknowledge me. Not sure why he prefers to interrupt me during Doom. Maybe he gets scared during that game too. Speaking of Doom, though, I am having a hard time telling whether people are excited for the new Doom game or not. We got a release date of May. Right now it's February. So we got a few months left to wait until the game comes out. But I gotta tell you guys, every trailer that releases of this game actually gets me pretty excited to play the game. Now, I can't disagree with what everybody is saying about the look of the Doom guy. They did change him up a bit, and I'm not really thrilled about the design of him and what players look like in multiplayer. Like, I gotta agree, they look like sterile space marines in space. Or space marines in space, a little redundant. But they look like sterile space marines that you would find, you know, in like Halo or something like that. And who if I want to play Halo, I'll go play Halo. Like, I want the Doom guy. They should have just, like, streamlined him, Another thing that I think is really funny, though, is that everybody says that the Doom guy, or the multiplayer Doom guys look like Halo, what are they, Halo Chiefs? Halo military guys, like Halo commanders? I don't know. I know that Master Chief's the main character, but that's what I find funny, is that Master Chief looks just like the friggin' Doom guy. Like, he is basically the Doom guy. He looks just like him. The design is identical. Look at Doom guy in Quake 3, or I'm sorry, not Quake 3. Quake 3. Once they put all the characters, the Doom guy, Ranger from Quake, all that stuff. Once they put them in Quake, they kind of streamlined their look and everything. Ranger looks identical to what he looked like in Quake 1. They updated the Doom guy a little bit because you wouldn't have seen what he looked like unless you played a lot of multiplayer. But, if you compare Quake 3 Doom guy to Halo Master Chief, it's like a rip-off design. So I think it's really funny that they basically made Halo Master Chief, and at the time you could have said, wow, he looks just like the Doom guy. All these years later with no Doom games, you had Doom 3 come out, and when was that, 2003 or 4 or something? Whenever that came out. And then finally we're getting another Doom, 12 years later. People have now come round robin because the gaming landscape has changed. The demographic for people, there's the quad, which I'm going to save for later. The gaming demographic has changed. All these newcomers to games have not played old Doom and don't have, like, the connection to it that we had. And they're saying that Doom now looks like the characters look like Halo guys. So it's come round robin. I think it's really funny. I thought this was a pretty sadistic area here. The first time that I played through this, in the corrupted file that I ended up having, this acid bath here, I jumped over, grabbed the suit, and then turned around to see two fiends coming out at me. So here I knew that they were going to be in there, and I took them out first. But that was quite a surprise the first time. Which again is one of the reasons why, man, I'm so mad I was not able to recover that video file. I would have rather have this been a little bit longer of a video and dealt with talking for another 15-20 minutes, regardless if you guys want to hear me talk or not. I'm hoping you want to hear me talk, considering you're watching this. But, I would have dealt with it just to get my first playthrough filmed, onto the game grave. But hey, what can you do? Shit happens when you're recording. Computers, finicky thing. Hopefully sometime in the future there will be, anti-corruption to files, But until that day, we'll just have to deal with it. Now, one of the other things I noticed about Episode 2 is that the Scrags don't make... I guess this is true about Episode 1 too, but Scrags don't make a lot of appearances throughout these maps. More so in Episode 2 than 1, probably, but still not as much as I see in custom maps. I think the Scrag at one point was a lot of people's favorite, filler enemy. I got this room, where you're doing this thing. What should I put in here? Oh, put in 6 Scrags, A lot of people are really big on the Scrags. Which is funny, because when I started doing the Quake Grave, I started recording willy-nilly. By the way, this is a really weird part right here. You hit this button, and you go down the chute. And it keeps following you down through, and you get stuck in this water, and this cage keeps moving along with you. But you get to a point, I'm at 100 health, so it doesn't bother me all that much. But as it continues on, you start choking a bit. Or rather, drowning, not choking. I guess that's the same thing, right? Drowning is sort of choking on water because you can't get to air. But yeah, it's just. I just thought that part was really strange. That's when you knew that these levels were getting hardcore. When id was putting in traps into their... They were putting traps in their levels that were basically... And this was something that I thought was strange here. This area that you go kind of all the way around and grab the key or whatever takes you right back to where the quad was. And I grab it here because I know what's coming. Like 3 fiends and 2 Hell Knights. This is pretty vicious for the end of a level. Especially if you're not expecting it. So you know, like, man, do not waste that quad next time I play this. But yeah, when it is putting traps in their levels, that's when you know. Traps that take out the player, that's when you know they're serious. That's for sure. So here we are. I believe this is the last level of Episode 2. I start things off immediately with a fiend. And I gotta say, I started out Episode 1 talking about how fiends are pretty much the enemy that really... They kind of... I don't know how you want to say it. They scare me the most. They prickle me the most. Whenever I see one, my initial gut reaction is to always run away. Not to get like a good vantage point or anything like that. It's just to like get the hell away from them so they're not hitting me. But one thing that I feel like Episode 2 has taught me while playing through it, because they throw so many fiends at you, I feel like I'm able to deal with them a lot better than I was before. So here, I've already played through this level, and I'm waiting for the fiend to jump out here at me. Because as they jump out here, a lot of times they'll jump out and then fall right in the water like that one did. But there is something funny that happens here coming up. Another fiend ends up chasing me out here, and I think it's this one right here, so you'll see. So he jumps at me. He's able to jump from there to there, and he follows me all the way here to the first room. Luckily, he's not able to really get to me, which is good. And I'm able to come back to this first room. I remember there's some armor, which I'm definitely going to need coming up here. So a couple years ago, before I started playing Quake, this is a level that I would have started and immediately have quit out of if I was not recording for the show. The show has totally gotten me to face my fear of this game with a lot of the enemies and everything, and I believe that I'm better for it because I feel like I approach games in a different light now. I'm still going to have a hard time with horror games, but like first-person shooters like this and Doom and whatnot, now that I've, now that I've grown up and I've come back to them, and I've decided, hey, I am going to, boom, hit the switch. I'm going to go through this, and I want to see this. Basically, my thought process on this game, with the show, was I wanted to see the other half of Quake that I didn't really spend much time with, because I wanted to see if there was something there. You'll notice on my channel that there are some shows that I have started that I haven't gone back to. And part of that is because either, I lose interest or people watching don't really care. Whatever the reason may be, maybe it's because I'm just not getting better at the game, One game that came to mind is Delver. I really want to get back to playing that game at some point, but I think I have 2 or 3 episodes up of me playing through that. It's a roguelike, 3D, but pixelized character used dungeon crawler type of game. And it's a cool little game, but I played through a few episodes of it. Like I said, it was maybe 2 or 3, and I didn't feel like I was progressing. I didn't feel like I was learning the game, and like, I just didn't feel like I was getting better at it, so I didn't feel like there was anything to, I guess, chronicleize about my playthroughs with it. I'm pretty sure I do something really stupid here where I get some splash damage on myself here. It might be right here. Yeah, right there. Takes me down to 15 health. What am I thinking? But all is well. We have health. And lots of it. But of course we have a Scrag too. The Scrags can shoot those stupid green things from anywhere, it seems. Any trajectory, they'll get you. But yeah, as I was saying, I'm really glad that I ended up coming back to Quake, because it's almost like things have kind of turned tail, like, or maybe the tables have turned, I guess is a better phrase for that, because where back in 96, 97, I'd only be playing this game online, like a lot of Team Fortress and, Deathmatch and that kind of thing. I now play this game solely single player, because I feel like the players that are left now actually playing this multiplayer would easily... There goes the Hell Knight just running by like an idiot. I feel like they would just absolutely kick my ass. Like, I have zero to no interest like to get online and test my might against any of these guys that are still playing online. I see some of these competitions that they still have, like tourneys and whatnot, where people are still facing against each other, and I see some of the scores, and I watch some of the tourneys online of people playing. I can't compete with that, and I don't find it super fun to get my ass kicked constantly. But what I can do is play single-player Quake, record it, talk and have fun, and actually feel like I'm accomplishing and getting better at the game, because I can learn the enemies, I can learn the AI. I've come a long way with a lot of the commenter tips that I've gotten too. I had no idea when I came back to Quake that the Shambler is easier killed if you're not using explosive weapons like a grenade launcher or rocket launcher. I had no idea about that. Someone pointed that out to me in the comments, and I read up on it. Like in the manual. The manual for Quake actually does mention it, but I had no idea. So the one thing you're going to find if you ever start doing videos yourself is that people are immediately going to correct you on stuff that you're doing. And a lot of times I've found it to be quite positive. I've had commenters on these videos tell me like, oh, you're not a very good shot. And then later, I get comments from that same person, actually telling me like, oh, actually you've gotten better at the game. I'm going to start watching this again. So, in that aspect, like I'm glad I've come back to the game and things are going well for me. One of the other things I wanted to mention too is that anybody watching this, I did mention it in the other video. I do post Quake news on Quake1.com, and the community for Quake is still going super strong, which I think is so cool. I think it's so cool to come back to this game, 18 years after the fact, and people are still playing it. People are still downloading single-player levels and playing those. People are still developing single-player mods and levels. Recently, a crew of the Quake community developed the Arcane Dimensions mod, which is absolutely amazing. I definitely plan on covering that soon, just so everybody knows. It's just I really wanted to do these 4 videos first. Maybe I'll cleanse my palate with a couple of small single-player levels. I don't know what I was doing there. I was jumping on the grenade. Might cleanse my palate with the couple single-player levels here and there, and then I would like to eventually jump into Arcane Dimensions and play through that. But my point being that, man, I can't believe that people are still creating all this great Quake content all these years later. You look at other games, and what do they have going for them in the community? I think Quake and Doom have the most active communities. I think Doom is even more active than Quake is. Quake may be getting more quality releases. I can't really comment on that. But all I can say is that the releases that do come out for Quake nowadays are very impressive. And I feel like they are of a high caliber of quality. You have professionals in the game industry who are coming back to Quake, and they're developing mods and levels and stuff for it. Like, how cool is that? What other game has that? I don't know. I can't name any off the top of my head. Here we go. We grab the pentagram. This part of this level is super strange. I love that I can grab the pentagram, though, and just rail people with the rocket launcher here. I love that part. So here I got the pentagram. Right now I'm going to try to utilize it as much as I can to get through all these areas. Because I remember that there's quite a bit of things to kill. But of course I got to wait for the elevator. And this strange elevator takes you to floor 2 and 3. I know that there's an ogre here, so I try to take him out before my pentagram is gone. Love using the invulnerability pentagram. Pentagram protection. Love using that with the rocket launcher. Splash damage doesn't matter. Such a good feeling, isn't it? So we're getting close to the end of this episode. I think I may have spent the most time in any of the levels on this one. The first time that I played through this, the first playthrough, the playthrough that shall not be named, the one that got corrupted, I spent a lot of time on this level, and I think I died a couple times as well trying to learn it. I feel like this playthrough here, I'm definitely zooming through it a lot faster than I was. Here I get trapped on the elevator, though. You'll end up seeing my final time, obviously, when we finish. But, yeah, I feel like I'm zooming through it way quicker than I did the first time. And, I love that feeling of just progressing and getting better at the game. It feels good to have cut corners, and the second time through the episode I didn't die at all, you know? It's a good feeling. But, I mean, my time in this level from the first time, I don't know what it was. It's probably it's going to be like around 10 minutes here, so it must have been like 16 minutes maybe before, because I was being so careful like to go around and not die and that kind of thing. Here we go. Lead us over here to grab the yellow armor. We're getting dangerously close to the end of the level here, and I say dangerously because we are about to start the horde sequence here. Using my axe against the demon picture there, trying to see if that would kick in. There we go. The horde sequence has started. One shambler comes after you. So with the big pillar in the middle, it's really easy to take these guys out. The shambler was a monster that scared the absolute shit out of me when I was younger. But once I came back, I realized I need to learn how to deal with this guy. Here we go. You got a fiend jumping around at you with the nails coming out of the booby trap. Pretty annoying. But I realized that the Chandler was a monster I really had to learn to deal with because it seems to be everybody's favorite monster to put into these custom maps. And over the years of playing this, I have learned when mappers are usually going to put a Shambler somewhere. Like, I can turn a corner and go like, okay, there's probably going to be a Shambler here. Still catches me off guard when there's like a ton of them in one room, or if somebody puts one in a very strange spot in an older map. But other than that, I'm pretty good at predicting them now, and I'm pretty good at doing the Shambler dance. I'm not as good as some of the other pro players that are out there, but there you go. Right there, that was the whole horde area. You get one Shambler, one fiend, and a few zombies on normal, but that's nothing. And then this room here, since I've collected the rocket launcher and the rockets all throughout here and didn't waste them, look, I still have 97 rockets. I could sit way back here and just take the Vores out. I don't even have to get close to them. And I can still use the pillar to not let the purple little missile things hit me. The first time I did this, I was much cleaner. I just killed all the Vores, or both the Vores rather, and all those purple things hit that. But once I grabbed the rune here, they hit me, but I was doing so well with health and everything, it didn't matter. So there you go. That is the end of episode 2. A little bit of a disappointing boss fight, I feel, compared to the first episode. But that is the first time you get to see the Vores. So that is pretty cool. So here it tells you the rune of black magic throbs evilly in your hand. And blibbity blobbity blue. I'm not sure how you figure this out, but Lore of the Hell Mother, Shub Nig-Arath? Man, that is that is probably not an enemy name that we want to use nowadays, is it? Anyway, you now know that she's behind all of this. I'm not sure how you found this out. I guess you find this out by just holding the rune, maybe? Who knows? The gate to Shub, or Shub's pit, will open, and you can basically face the witch herself in her frightful otherworld cathedral. Ooh, sounds intense, doesn't it? Well, thanks for watching, everybody. That's episode 2. You'll see, look at that. We got both rune plates up there. Well, I will see you all next time for episode 3 on the Quake Grave.